This video is for educational purposes only. Our group is allowing Mr. Roldan Martinez to use this as educational material. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to learn about the world of religion, with its philosophical foundation and influence to the world. First, let's define religion. Religion is a social culture of designated behaviors and practices, morals, beliefs, worldviews, texts, sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, or organization that relates humanity to supernatural, transcendental, and spiritual elements.
Hey guys, well actually here. This is the start of a new series on religions throughout time and across the world. Sounds simple enough, but there's a problem. And that problem is that no one can agree, well, what a religion actually is. If I were to ask you what a religion is, I'm sure you would have a pretty solid and sure answer. In fact, if you want to tell me what you think a religion is, then leave it in a comment below and let's see how many different ideas people have. But first, let me show you what the problem is of defining the word religion. Oxford Dictionaries define religion as the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. You might look at this and think, well, this seems straightforward enough. But already there is a problem. What about tribal and animistic beliefs, which believe that everything has a spirit? Or what about sects of Buddhism, where the idea is simply to become one with the cosmos? Or what about religions like Confucianism, which are more of a philosophy than an actual religion? This definition doesn't really fit those sorts of religions. Well, why don't we have a different definition than in our dictionaries? Well, in the 1900s, minister and scholar Wilfred Smith stated that the reason for this definition is because much of the world is dominated by Judeo-Christian beliefs, and this has impacted the study of religion. Wilfred Smith is not the only person to say this, and in today's society, many academic people are what's called deconstructionist, and they believe that the concept of religion is essentially made up by the West. Long story short, religion is really hard to define. So, let's look at what makes up a religion and see what you think. Simply, religions are generally made up of these three aspects. There is a spiritual aspect, a personal aspect, and what is called a social aspect. These three things, or aspects, are the pillars which create any religion or belief system. Let's see what I mean. Let's imagine an ancient primitive society before science and uninfluenced by Judeo-Christian religions. These people used religion to understand the world around them, to define social position, and to understand and influence nature. Think about some of the things these people had to try and understand. These sort of things include weather, stars and space, seasons, life and death, and the question of what happens after life. All of these things and concepts suggest a world controlled by gods, or a god, or a spiritual realm outside of our own. And if this is the case, then ceremonies, sacrifices, and rituals could be used to influence the other world. If these people could please the spirits, then life would become much smoother. This is a spiritual aspect. The personal aspect would involve the individual's worship and relationship with the gods or spirits and ancestors, and the religion would also affect society by setting up clear rules and customs. The common religion would cement community and define the social order. As societies like these became more complex, religions began being used as political tools, showing who is one of us and being used to assimilate or subjugate others. So this is how the three factors work in a primitive and animistic society. But they also work within a clearly defined religion such as Christianity. The spiritual being the belief system, personal being our relationship to God, and the church being our social aspect. So hopefully we can all agree that religion is spiritual, personal, and social. But these of course aren't the only things which make up a religion, as most religions have a purpose or an objective. One purpose involves the concept of good and evil. Most religions have a clear good and bad. In Christianity, of course, the evil is Satan, or the accuser, who has tainted the world, and because of this, we need Jesus, the good, to heal the world and to bring peace. But not all religions are this clear. Many Eastern philosophies believe that the physical world is evil and that escaping it should be the goal. The Vikings believed life was to make them ready for a great war in the afterlife, and other religions simply have the goal of being as good as you can be so that you can become immortal and have a good afterlife, making the concept of good and evil a lot more blurry. There are tons of other elements which make up religions, which we will split up into 4 categories. One is observance of faith. These are things like prayer, fasting and feasting, dress, pilgrimage, ritual, ceremony, and meditation. There's physical artifacts such as altars, relics, places of worship, idols, items, holy places. There's narratives. You've got sacred texts, stories, whether oral or written, and mythology. And then there's the metaphysical, or supernatural. These are your feelings, experiences, enlightenment, and the concept of inner peace. All of these are important, but aren't necessarily present in all religions. For instance, many tribal and pagan religions don't have sacred texts, but may have stories and mythology. Roman Catholicism has relics and holy places, but most Protestant Christians don't. I'm sure that was a lot to take in, so let's quickly sum up. When you look at it all, there's a lot of things that make up a religion. And the concept of a religion is a bit confusing. But there are 4 things which I think need to be present to make a religion. These are the spiritual, which means there needs to be a god, gods or spiritual realm for mankind to relate to in some fashion. The personal, there has to be a personal obligation to follow certain rules or rituals. And the societal, religion is about relationship and so requires some form of group or society. And finally, a goal. Religion is about getting somewhere, getting something, or maintaining a balance, or choosing good over evil. There are also elements which are certainly present in the religions, and these are physical objects, places and items, which are seen as holy, narratives, stories and mythology which shape worldviews, observance of faith, rituals and rites which have to be done, and the metaphysical, feelings and experience which cement belief. This video was hopefully to lay some foundation for other videos in the series, and they aren't as likely to be as deep in thinking as this one, but I hope you still enjoyed this video and found it helpful or interesting.
These are the examples of religion that exist in our world today, namely Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, and African religion. And now, let us review the philosophical foundation of religion.
Good day, I am Engine Cadet Larius Arino D, and I will talk all about the philosophical foundation of Judaism. Judaism, like Christianity and Islam, Judaism is monotheistic and its religious teachers are called rabbis. The Jewish Bible, Tanakh, traces God's activity when he called Abraham from Mesopotamia to establish a nation of Jewish families. And these families become a nation under one God, Yahweh. According to the Torah, there was a sacred covenant, a binding agreement between Yahweh, God, and his chosen people, the Israelites, represented by Abraham and Sarah. Jews believe that this covenant holds them accountable to God if they follow religiously the teachings in the Torah, in the letter, and in spirit. Since Judaism is monotheistic, it naturally condemns idolatry. There are two important holidays in the Jewish calendar: Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which celebrate the Jewish New Year and the Day of Atonement. The philosophical foundation of Christianity. Christianity teaches that Jesus is co-eternal with God the Father and was born through the Virgin Mary. Thus, Jesus is both God and man, and that he bears all human affliction except sin. On the doctrine of the Trinity, Christians insist that there is only one God who appears in three persons. But these beliefs are rejected by Jews and Muslims. Christian rituals are similar in their themes, but there are differences in their emphasis. For the Roman Catholic Church, the Mass, the Holy Eucharist, is their central ritual. The Bible is the most important source of belief of Christians. The sacraments are important in the lives of Christians. The fourth sacrament is baptism, followed by confirmation, and then First Communion. The Catholic Church recognizes marriage as a sacrament, but not the Protestant Church. Initiation of individuals to the priesthood is a sacrament in the Catholic Church, while in Protestant churches, ordination is just a sacred event, not a sacrament.
Islam. So the basis of Islamic philosophy are the beliefs in God, or also known as Allah, the belief in God's devotees, the belief in divine revelation that had been gave to the prophets, the belief that human has potency within the development of morality and spirituality, the belief that each individual is responsible for his action, and the belief in life and life after death, and also the belief on universal similarity among the Muslims. So, the foundation of Muslim faith are God's revelation to Muhammad, known as the Quran, from the Arabic word Quran or recitation, and the reports about Muhammad's life and deeds, which are known as the Hadith, from the Arabic word for report. The central miracle of Islam is God's revelation to Muhammad, whose human fallibilities as a mere mortal are repeated mentioned in the Quran. The revelation that comprises the Quran were revealed over a period of more than 2 decades in 2 places. The first revelations from the period of Muhammad's residence in the Mecca are short and incantatory, verses and extraordinary poetic beauty. The later revelations from the period after Muhammad immigrated to Medina are no longer legalistic texts appropriate to developing community of the believers in need of rules and regulations. Hinduism. So most forms of the Hinduism are henotheistic or henotheism, which means they worship a single deity known as Brahman, but still recognize other gods and goddesses. Followers believe there are multiple paths to reaching their god. So one of these is to worshiping and praying. So Hindus believe in the doctrines of samsara, the continuous cycle of life, death, and reincarnation, and also karma, the universal law of cause and effect. One of the key thoughts of Hinduism is Atman, or the belief in soul. This philosophy holds that the living creatures have a soul and they are part of the Supreme Soul, The goal is to achieve moksha or salvation, which ends the cycles of rebirth to become part of the Absolute Soul. One fundamental principle of the religion is the idea that the people's action and thoughts directly determine their current life and future lives. Hindus strive to achieve dharma, which is a code of living that emphasizes good conduct and morality. Hindus revere all living creatures and consider the cow a sacred animal. Food is an important part for Hindus. Most don't eat beef or pork, and many are vegetarian.
Good day, I am Engine Cadet Bas Januel, and I am going to tackle about the philosophical foundation of Buddhism and Taoism. So I'm going to discuss first the philosophical foundation of Buddhism. So Buddhism founded in the late 6th century BCE by Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha Gautama, also known as Buddha, grew up in a wealthy family. He decided to follow a path self-denial but did not find truth until he sat down under a tree, now known as a Bo tree. According to the legend, Buddha sat under the Bo tree for 49 days and was tempted by demons. He discovered four noble truths and the eightfold path to nirvana or ultimate bliss. The Buddha taught the famous Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path, which allows people to achieve enlightenment. The enlightenment is nirvana, awakening, realization, and satori. It is the cessation of suffering, freedom from conditioned existence called samsara. There are two major schools of Buddhism, and it is called Mahayana and Theravada or Hinayana. So the Four Noble Truths. First is dukkha. It says that a life is unsatisfactory, disjointed, and suffering. Second is samudaya. It says that there is a cause of suffering, which is attachment or desire, tanha. Third is nirodha. It says that there is a cessation of suffering, which is to eliminate attachment and desire. Last is marga. It says that the path that leads out of suffering is called the Noble Eightfold Path. So here are the Eightfold Paths. First, understanding or right view or right perspective. Second, the right thought or right intention or right resolve. Third, right to speech. Fourth, right of action. Fifth, right livelihood. Sixth, right effort or right endeavor. 7. Right mindfulness. And lastly, the right of concentration. So the goal of the Noble Eightfold is to develop clarity and insight into the nature of reality. So next is the philosophical foundation of Taoism. Taoism founded 6th century BCE by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is a Chinese Taoist philosopher, and they call him Master Lao or Old Master. According to Sima Qian, a historian who wrote in about 100 BCE, he says that Lao Tzu was a native of Koren, a village in the district of Hu in the state of Chu, which corresponds to the modern Luyi in the eastern part of Henan province.
Good day everyone, I am here to report about Confucianism. So, what is Confucianism? So, Confucianism is one of the most influential religious philosophies in the history of China, and it has existed for over 2,500 years. It is concerned with inner virtue, morality, and respect for the community and its values. So, the main idea of Confucianism is the importance of having a good moral character or having a good values which can affect the world around that person through the idea of cosmic harmony. So this is Confucius. Confucius is the founder of Confucianism. Was a man named Kong Qi. He later was known as Kong Fuzi or Master Kong. In the West, he is called Confucius. He was born in 551 BC in northeastern China in the state of Lu. So that is Confucius, or you can also name him Kong Qi, Kong Fuzi, or Master Kong. African religion. So in African religion, it is multifaceted and has been a major influence on art, culture, and philosophy. So today, the continent's various populations and individuals are mostly adherents of Christianity, Islam, and to a lesser extent several traditional African religions. So this is the chart of the religion in Africa based on 2020. So the blue one is Christianity, which is 49%, Islam, the green one, is 42%, and the red one, traditional religions, 8%, and others, 1%. So Christianity is the biggest religion in Africa. Next is Islam. So Christianity came first to the continent of Africa. So Christianity is the first religion that came to Africa. Oral tradition says the first Muslims appeared while the Prophet Muhammad was still alive. He died in 632. So in the 15th century, Christianity came to Sub-Saharan Africa with the arrival of the Portuguese. So the Portuguese bring the religion Christianity in Africa. In the south of the continent, the Dutch founded the beginnings of the Dutch Reformed Church in 1652. In the interior of the continent, most people continued to practice their own religions undisturbed until the 19th century. So, according to Arab oral tradition, Islam first came to Africa with Muslim refugees. So, ang Islam, the reason why the Islam religion come to Africa because of the Muslim refugees fleeing persecution in the Arab Peninsula. This was followed by a military invasion. Some 7 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 639, under the command of the Muslim Arab general. So
Confucianism originated in China by a philosopher named Confucius. The word that best describes this religion is harmony. Not individual freedom, but social harmony, because it guarantees a peaceful coexistence, which is the goal of Confucianism. How to achieve harmony? One way is seniority and juniority. Young people must respect elders. This is also practiced. In Japan, for example, senpai kohai means seniors are in charge, but when they go out for a meal, new seniors pay for the meal. And also companies tend to look after their employees a lot better. Patriarchy is another way to create harmony. Children and women must respect men. In return, they provide for them. Confucianism also promoted meritocracy to make sure that rulers didn't become authoritarian and corrupt. It's still very influential in China, Korea, and Japan, especially among corporations and government. It's more a moral practice, bureaucracy, and political system than a spiritual and religious. So the goal of Confucianism is peace and harmony.
And now, let's proceed to the influence of religion to the world. Before proceeding to discuss about the influence of Judaism and Christianity to the world, first let's view a video about the differences of both religions.
What is the difference between Judaism and Christianity? We're going to answer that question. Of the major world religions, Christianity and Judaism are the most similar. Mutually, they believe in one God who is almighty, omniscient, omnipresent, eternal, and infinite. Both believe in a God who is holy, righteous, and just, while at the same time loving, forgiving, and merciful. Christianity and Judaism share the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament, as the authoritative Word of God, although Christianity is the only one that includes the New Testament. Both religions believe in the existence of heaven and hell, and they share the same ethical code, Judeo-Christian. Together they teach that God has a special plan for the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. The primary difference between Christianity and Judaism is the person of Jesus Christ. Christianity teaches that Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecies of a coming Messiah. Judaism often recognizes Jesus as a good teacher and perhaps even a prophet of God. However, Judaism does not believe that Jesus was the Messiah. Taking it a step further, Christianity teaches that Jesus was God in the flesh and that he became a human being in the person of Jesus Christ so he could be the sacrifice for our sins. Judaism strongly denies that Jesus was God or that such a sacrifice was even necessary. Jesus Christ is the all-important distinction between both religions. The person and the work of Jesus Christ is the one primary issue that Christianity and Judaism cannot agree upon. Jesus declared, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The religious leaders of Israel in Jesus' time asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" To which Jesus replied, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." But they didn't believe his words or accept him as the Messiah. Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the Hebrew prophecies of a coming Messiah. Old Testament scriptures paint a clear picture of the crucifixion in Psalm 22 verses 14 through 18 and the person of Jesus in Isaiah 53 verses 3 through 6. The Apostle Paul, a Jew and a strict adherent of Judaism, encountered Jesus Christ in a vision. He proceeded to become the greatest witness for Christ and the author of nearly half of the New Testament. Paul understood the difference between Christianity and Judaism more than anyone else. What was his message? "I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, because it is the power of God for the salvation of everyone who believes, first for the Jew and then for the Gentile."
The influence of Judaism to the world. Judaism is one of the monotheistic religions in the world. It developed in the Eastern Mediterranean over the last 4,000 years, and today there is over 15 million Jews, making it the 10th most popular religion in the world. The descendants of the ancient Hebrews had become known as Jews, and the religion came to be called Judaism. Throughout their history of people who follow this religion, they have never been great in number, and they have never ruled expansive lands. Yet their beliefs and ideas have an enormous impact on the Western civilization. Hebrews were the first to practice monotheism, which is to believe in only one God. Later on, it influenced great religions such as Christianity and Islam, in which Jesus himself got his teachings in Jewish tradition. Judaism influenced the world by maintaining its self-identity and community. Despite the hardships they encountered, their culture has produces countless scientists, professors, politicians, entertainers, authors, and artists. Their contributions to the society in the past and present, and it's immeasurably large, which is why Judaism continues to be one of the world's great religion today. The influence of Christianity in the world. Christianity is the most widely practiced religion in the world. With over 2 billion Christians in the world, it has been a major source of our social services like school, medical care, art, culture, philosophy, and renowned figures of the world. It is said that they owed to the biblical faith for the fact that the human rights, democracy, equality of the law, values, moral and civil rights are the overflow of the Christian faith being lived out in the world. According to the philosopher in Europe, without the Judaic ethic, of justice and the Christian ethic of love, we would not have these moral structures that affirm democracy, or neither equality and many more. Without the influence of the Christian faith and the understanding of the image of God, we would not have such thing as crime against humanity, that is the stowell of the biblical faith being lived out in a society. Many of these things we have mentioned are influenced with Christianity. Our values are formed, and even the way we judge things are influenced with Christianity.
Good day everyone, I am Engine Cadet Mallorca Jan Polem, and I am here to discuss about how these religions influence the world. First is Islam. Islam had a profound global impact since it was found in the 7th century during what is known as the Golden Age of Islam, which lasted roughly between mid-18th century until the 13th century. The Muslim world was the center of intellectual activity, with Baghdad serving as the capital of philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists. Mathematics, language, astronomy, and medicine were particularly influenced by the culture, and its effects can be still seen to this day. In mathematics, the symbolic system was spread across the Middle East by the mathematician Al-Khwarizmi and has come to be known as Arabic numerals. The translation of his name is in fact algorithmi, which is the origin of the term algorithm. The word algebra is derived from the Arabic word al-jabar, means to restore or complete. Like most languages, Arabic has spread throughout the world by the way of trade and conquest. Because the Muslim world was the center of philosophy, science, mathematics, and the other fields for most of the medieval period. Arabic, an essential skill for merchants and travelers alike. As a result, today, or modern English includes Arabic-based words such as admiral, from Amir Ahal, mean chief of transport, sequin derived from sika, a die used for coin making, and jar for jara, a large earthen vase. In Hinduism, Hinduism, also known as the oldest religion on earth, Hinduism has no single founder, nor one single set of guidelines to follow, making it an extremely adaptable religion. Hinduism could more so be considered as a way of life and opposed to an actual religion. Many people follow the teachings of Hinduism without actually considering themselves to be Hindu by faith, including atheists. Examples are the practices of yoga and meditation. Many people don't know this, but these two practices originated from Hindu faith, and although many people consider themselves yogis and meditators, they do not practice Hinduism as their accepted faith, but rather take the yoga teachings and meditation and incorporate into their lifestyle. Hinduism's impact on philosophy, literature, fashion, art, religion, and the world as a whole is one of will continue to have an important role in the human society, religious or not. Having a single founder, nor one single set of guidelines to follow, Hinduism is a highly adaptable religion. These easily conformational guidelines make it accessible for the one who takes what they feel fit from religion and apply to their life, which is why the eternal way of life will eternally influence the way of the world functions. Namaste.
So next is Buddhism. Buddhism has been a powerful religious, political, and social force first in India, its original homeland, and then in many other lands. It remains a powerful religious, political, and cultural force in many parts of the world today. So Buddhism changed how communities were organized. It challenged social hierarchy, created opportunities for women, and gave individuals of all classes a role spiritual practice. But as Buddhism changed, each new society is touched. So too did Buddhism change. Buddhism encourages its people to avoid self-indulgence but also self-denial. Buddha's most important teachings, known as the Four Noble Truths, are essential to understanding the religion. Buddhists embrace the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, and reincarnation, the continuous cycle of birth. As an addition, Buddhism is one of the world's largest religions and originated 2,500 years ago in India. Buddhists believe that the human life is one of suffering and that meditation, spiritual, and physical labor, and good behavior are the ways to achieve enlightenment or nirvana. Buddhists also observe practices include meditation, observance of moral precepts, monasticism, taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha, and the cultivation of the paramitas, perfection or virtues. Next is Daoism. Unlike Confucianism, Daoism looked to nature rather than human beings as the source of morality. According to Laozi, human society has to conform to the Tao, or the way, or the essential and unifying element of all that is. Some interpret Tao as nature. A Taoist goal in life is to seek the way. By shunning earthly distractions, one is able to concentrate on seeking the way. Laozi called for minimum human action, preferring to leave things to nature. Taoism began to morph into a religion around 200 AD with texts and rituals heavily influenced by Buddhist practices. As religion in pursuit of eternal life, Taoists in subsequent millennia contributed to Chinese medicine, science, the invention of gunpowder, and material arts, Taiji Wuda. As an addition, Taoism has influenced Chinese culture for over 2,000 years. Its practices have given birth to martial arts such as Tai Chi and Qigong, healthy living such as practicing vegetarianism and exercise, and its texts have codified Chinese views on morality and behavior, regardless of religious affiliation. Taoism is a philosophy, a religion, and a way of life that arose in the 6th century before Christ era in what is now the eastern Chinese province of Henan. It has strongly influenced the culture and religious life of China and other East Asian countries ever since.
Good day, I'm Engine Cadet Sabiliano and I'm from Group 4 and I'm explaining about the influence of Confucianism and African religion to the world. Confucianism is an ancient Chinese belief system which focuses on the importance of personal ethics and morality. Furthermore, Confucianism is a way of life taught by Confucius in 68th to 58th century BCE or before Christ era. Sometimes, as a religion, it has deeply influenced spiritual and political life in China. Its influence has also extended to Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Confucianism religion beliefs. The main idea of Confucianism is the importance of having a good moral character which can affect the world around that person through the idea of cosmic harmony. If the emperor has moral perfection, his rule will be peaceful and benevolent. In addition, the beliefs of Confucianism made woman subordinate throughout the religion. This reaffirmed the claim that women were not as powerful or wise as men. So, why in our world an equality among women and men? I think it is really good. Therefore, many countries did an equal and same rights to all people. The influence of Confucianism. Confucianism thought have a wide influence in all the nations of East Asia. In Korea and Japan, ethics and etiquette have been under the influence of Confucian viewpoints such as humanity, justice, and etiquette, and etc. The influence is still quite obvious up to the present. Next topic is African religion influence to the world. In African religion are as diverse as the continent is varied. Nevertheless, long cultural contact and degrees ranging from trade to conquest has forged some fundamental commonalities among religion within sub-region, allowing for some generalization to be made about the distinguishing features of religion indigenous to Africa. Native African religions centered on ancestor worship, the belief in a spirit world, supernatural beings, and free will, unlike the later developed concept of faith. Deceased humans and animals or important objects still exist in the spirit world and can influence or interact with the physical world. Religion, African religion influence. So in religion still has the potential to influence socio-political and economic processes in Africa, such as positive influence could ameliorate poverty and corruption, thereby assisting with the socio-political and economic transformation of the continent. That's all. Thank you.